So, people are very, very excited for the next iPhone. If you look at the number of Google searches for the phone, it is nearly twice as many as we saw just before the iPhone 7's launch. Having said that, the conventional videos and news you see doesn't cover a lot of the more interesting things behind the next iPhone. So in this video, we're going to talk about that. And with that being said, let's get started. So if there's one thing Apple has been consistent about with its iPhone smartphones, it's the fact that they've got a constant naming convention. As you've seen, ever since the iPhone 3, we've had the 3GS, then the 4, then the 4S, the 5 and the 5S, and so on and so forth. And so this year, Apple is expected to release 3 smartphones. The iPhone 7S, the iPhone 7S Plus, and then the iPhone 8, as people are calling it right now. But what I'm about to tell you is that given those other names, it really can't be called the iPhone 8. If they release an iPhone 8 alongside the iPhone 7S and 7S Plus, what would next year's phones be called? Would the 7S become the 8? Would the 7S Plus become the 8 Plus? It doesn't really make sense. So if, for example, what Apple decides to do is to create one special phone for its 10th anniversary, it would have to come up with a different name for it. And so to counter this, a lot of people are saying Apple is going to call it the iPhone X. But then if they call it the iPhone X this year, will it be called the iPhone XS next year? And for most people, XS means extra small. It doesn't really add up, and this is something that Apple needs to pay very careful attention to. They completely messed up their naming with the iPads originally, and it's been a slow path to recovery. But now that they've finally sorted out their iPad lines, they could draw some inspiration. Now they've got the iPad minis, the iPads, and the iPad Pros, it makes a lot of sense to translate the same naming scheme to the iPhone. So the second thing you probably didn't know about the iPhone 8 is the fact that wireless charging has been confirmed. So you may have heard of the company Wistron. Wistron is essentially putting together the next iPhone, and the CEO of this company, Robert Huang, recently confirmed in a statement that the phone has the module which supports wireless charging. Now, this is not a revolution, this is something Android phones have had for a very long time, but the fact that it is finally coming to iPhones means that it levels the playing field somewhat, so whether or not it's late, it's an important step for Apple. So, the next thing is game-changing. The next iPhone is supposedly going to have an OLED panel. Now there's a few reasons for this. OLED panels are far thinner than LCDs that iPhones traditionally use, and this means they can be more easily bent around the edges of the smartphone. Not only this, but the next iPhone is expected to be the first smartphone in the world to have an embedded fingerprint scanner in the display itself. As the technology stands right now with the fingerprint sensors, they're not powerful enough to work through a thick glass LCD, so this is the best way to do it. And a spin-off effect of this is that we can now expect on the next iPhone to have deeper blacks and more vivid colours. So in terms of the screen of the next iPhone, we're expecting a 5.8-inch display. And what's especially interesting about this is that that is a larger display than seen on the iPhone 7 Plus, and a far larger display than seen on the iPhone 7, but the iPhone 8, or whatever the next iPhone is called, is going to be able to more or less fit into this body. Fit into this absolutely tiny body which previously houses a screen that is about 30% smaller. Now you might be thinking it's going to be a little bit impractical to have the whole thing as a display. I mean, like with the most up-to-date Android devices, you need some room to work with, something called a functional area. You need contextual app buttons, you need a back button, you need a home button, maybe something for multitasking. If the entire thing was just an immersive display, you wouldn't be able to actually use it properly. So the latest rumours are suggesting we're going to have a little functional area at the bottom. A little section on the bottom of the display which is essentially going to let you do those things. It's going to be contextual buttons as well as ability to go home, activate your fingerprint scanner and your voice assistant. And this is essentially going to leave about 5.15 inches of actual usable real estate for most tasks. Obviously things like games and videos, they're going to go completely full screen, which is going to be such a cool experience. So iPhones get more powerful every year, as does every kind of smartphone, and they need to. That's to be expected, it's needed to keep up with the competition. But the next iPhone is expected to be the first ever iPhone to be based off a 10nm manufacturing process. What this means is that the SoC inside, the system on chip, is going to be not only faster, but also far more efficient. It'll be able to match the Snapdragon 835 in terms of efficiency, which when combined with Apple's iOS and how efficient that already is in terms of managing battery, could mean the thing we've been waiting for so long, an extension of battery life on the actual iPhone. The only potential downside of this is the fact that, because we have a body the size of the iPhone 7, with a screen larger than the iPhone 7 Plus, it's very possible that all that saved battery life could just go into powering the screen. So guys, I really hope you found that video useful. I mean, I spent quite a long time trying to find things that were a little bit different about the iPhone 8, things which you probably hadn't heard from conventional news channels. If you did find that useful or interesting in any way, let me know in the comments below and let's have a discussion about the iPhone 8. I'm very interested to hear what you think on it. With that being said, I'm Mr. Who's the Boss, and I'm signing out.